Hi guys, and welcome back to OG Cars, and today's video is going to be a little bit of a talking video about what happened with our collection of the Skoda Felicia. Basically what went wrong and why we're not the happiest with the situation that we were put in.
So the car made it from Lowestoft to roughly Reading Central and South on the M4. So it made a good 2-3 hour journey, but you may have noticed in our pickup video for the Felicia that it just ends and goes video coming soon. And this is that video because we're going to talk about what happened. So basically the car was absolutely fine. It's in fairly good nick. It was cheap and supposedly reliable. So it had done us well for 2 or 3 hours. It had done various restarts because we had stopped at the most easterly point and we had stopped for something else as well. Petrol as well, yeah. So he'd gone for a few restarts and it was absolutely fine. Nothing had pointed us to what was about to happen. Now, basically, the alternator failed. But when I've had this before, like with the Wartburg Dynamo, we've had it on Fiat Panda alternators, they tend to flag up the battery light and you notice things start to slowly go down and then the car stops. I had this with the Renault Twingo as well. I had the radio go first, then the wipers were slow, and the lights were dimming, and then it started to judder, and then I had it in a safe place. Unfortunately, the Felicia was not in a safe place. Basically, the alternator went, we had no battery light, and while we were driving on a smart motorway in the live lane, left lane, the wipers started to go really slowly and we were like, oh, we should probably think about, pulling off somewhere because it looks like we're running out of battery power. And then suddenly the car starts juddering uphill next to Metal Armco, and then we basically just judder to a halt.
Now, if you're not from the UK, just to quickly give you the idea of what a smart motorway is, instead of a 3-lane motorway with a hard shoulder where you can pull in if you break down, the hard shoulder becomes another lane for more traffic. I'll sit here and say it's a good premise for traffic, it just doesn't work. Now, we'll go into this in a bit, just because of the situation that we were in and, what we ended up experiencing. But we'd just gone past a bay, because they have bays every, I'm going to say 1 to 2 miles. I could be wrong, it could be like every mile. But we'd just gone past a bay when about 10-15 seconds later it started juddering. As I say, no battery light, no real warning that this was going to happen. And we were desperately trying to power it up this hill to get past the barrier. We didn't make it. And we've both said, we're both trying to laugh about it and make light of it because we're here. And nothing happened to the car, nothing happened to anyone else. But it was very, very scary because we had to stop in lane 1 on the smart motorway and just get ourselves out of the car. And being on a live lane on a 70-mile-an-hour motorway with traffic coming towards you because it has no idea there, it was really, really scary.
So at this point, the battery is just completely dead. We've got no hazards. I think they came on very dimly at times. And basically, G and I, we're watching traffic like a hawk. Like when we were slowing down, I was looking in the mirrors going, oh my days, these cars are coming right up towards us. And as soon as we saw the smallest of gaps, I mean, it was pretty busy. I think everyone was coming back from the coronation at this point. And we managed to bail out. We got Hudson over. And we jumped over the barrier, and straight away, because cars were still in the first lane, I was flagging everyone down and G called 999 straight away. And highways were pretty good, but I think it did take about 4 to 5 minutes really for the lane to get closed, which is the premise of the smart motorway is that it's meant to identify a stopped car within like 20 seconds and then close the lane, and it just didn't. So we sort of like had 4 or 5 minutes of just me frantically waving people down, and it was a really, really scary time because, at this point I didn't care about the Skoda. I was like, that doesn't matter. People's safety, our safety, we're behind the barrier now, we're far enough away that, and we're concentrating on the traffic. So we're fine, but I'm worried about other people, an accident being caused. And there were a few near misses, people still traveling in lane 1. And, there's got to be people ignoring me at this point because I'm there waving people down I'm trying to say, move over. And these people are still in lane 1 and they're just skimming the side of the Felicia and like cutting into lane 2. And obviously the cars in lane 2, they're moving across. And there was one very, very near miss where a BMW 1 Series did actually go sideways in lane 3 because the person moved from lane 1 to 2 and then the person in 2 to 3, and the BMW did a twitch, and fair play to the driver, managed to correct it. But it just shouldn't happen. There's arguments for and against smart motorways, and I get the premise and it's meant to work, but in this situation it did not work. We needed a safe place to stop. We didn't. It was meant to close the lane. It didn't. So highways closed it after 4 to 5 minutes, and then they closed the motorway. They came over in their Mitsubishi, and they brought out another car, and one of them was sort of like holding back the traffic, and then the other one towed us to the next safe spot.
Now, I do want to give a shout out to the operator I spoke to and to Highways, because as soon as I called him, while I was on the phone, from what I could gather, they were checking the cameras and they could see that we were there. And they did close it very quickly. It's very much put me and Owen off smart motorways, but does also show how low the standard of driving has dropped in the UK, because there was a red cross on there and it was down to 40 miles an hour. And once everyone was actually not going in lane 1, there were still people in lane 1, and there were still people flying past at way over 40 miles an hour. And if anyone's got me on my socials, I've had a bit of a rant about the whole thing because it was horrible. But I hope all those people enjoy their tickets, because we were right by a gantry and it flashed every single person that went past speeding, went through the red X. And the problem is that red X is there. We saw the sign that said stranded vehicle. They were very aware that there was a car there. I think sometimes, and you do see it, me and Owen have commented it over the last few years, the standard of driving is just dropping. Like, people don't seem to be as observant as they used to be. I get it, sometimes you're driving, you've done a long drive, you might be a bit tired. But honestly, after this, if you're driving down a smart motorway, the speed drops, there's a cross, there's a warning in the thing, please just listen to it, because the amount of people who very nearly had a massive accident with our car, and as we say, we didn't care about the car at that point, we cared about everyone else. And when that one car went sideways across lane 3 and 2, I was more worried about them, because we're out the car, we're safe, they've not done anything wrong, but because people aren't listening and are then just acting on trying to avoid themselves, it very nearly caused quite a few nasty accidents.
So once we were safe in the emergency area, it's still not that safe, to be honest, but there is a decent pull-off there. Once we were there, we had our emergency ponchos on, and the King came past with the royal cavalcade, because they were going from where we had the coronation in London to, I think it's home in Gloucester, is it?
I think so, yeah.
So we're told. Anyway, they looked in our general direction, probably thought, commoners in an old Skoda Felicias in emergency ponchos. King Charles, if you watch this video, then maybe you like Felicias, I don't know. But,
who knows?
Yeah. There you go. I thought that was like a strange moment. We're just there in a £350 broken car on the side of a smart motorway, and the King drives past, having just been crowned king. Anyway, we're there. We called AutoAid. AutoAid have been very good to us, and they came out within the hour. And the same person that picked up Jurassic Panda on Christmas Eve picked us up in the Felicia, was very happy to see us, and then took us to Les Delamere, ready for our relay to the next part of our journey, where Victoria Recovery picked us up and took us back home then. And
basically, as we say, the guy who picked us up in by Reading, he did double check it for us before he got us on, and he said, yes, it is the alternator, which is what we suspected it was. But we were just both quite surprised. As we say, we've both had alternators go on us in the past, and we've had plenty of warning. I guess the Felicia is very basic. It didn't have a radio. I had my lights on, but it showed that my lights were on. The first warning we had was the wipers. The wipers were like this, and suddenly it went like this. And as I say, me and Owen immediately said, right, next bay or next junction we get off. And within 30 seconds, we were broken down on the side of the road. So we've been a bit like, was there anything else that we could have done to not be in that situation? But there really, hand on heart, was nothing we could have done. We didn't want to stop in a live lane. We were really scared. But the car got back home. We went into Felicia UK page and explained our predicament. And pure luck, I have a 95 Skoda Favourite sat outside, which has the exact same alternator for a Felicia. Because Kelly is off the road, we robbed the alternator off of Kelly. Thank you very much to Owen, who drove me back into Cardiff where we left it. We fitted it onto the Felicia, and the Felicia is back in action. Before anyone makes any comments, I don't hold it against the Felicia. It's probably the original alternator, and honestly, when was the last time you went to go and buy a car and you checked that the alternator was working? Because I've never done that. Maybe I'll do it in the future, but I've never done that before.
Well, I've never brought a multimeter with me to check if it's charging 13.8 volts. You know, do you expect the battery light to come on? But,
we'd expect a warning, ultimately, and we didn't get one. But we're very happy we're here. We're safe. The car's safe. I'm still very happy with the car. I plan to get it home and do a little walk around video for you all. So that'll come a little bit later. But we're okay. Everyone who went past us while we were breaking down, there's okay. And ultimately, that's what's important.
Definitely. And I know I'm bringing this back onto smart motorways again. We just wanted to sort of say, you know, lots of people have obviously been arguing that they're not a good idea, and they have. I think the government have actually said that they're scrapping the idea for future motorways anyway. But obviously the premise is there, you know, if they make lane 1 a hard shoulder again, but still have the gantries, you know, they're still watching and trying to close lane, you know, things still happen in the fast lane and stuff. So, you know, if people are watching and they can close a lane like that, then it's still very useful. But having a permanent area to be able to pull into, if you can, is obviously ideal. So
this is what we said. The fact that it's let's just say it is every mile. What if you've passed the first bay, as me and Owen did, and you've then got another mile to get to the other bay, and your car loses power? Your car isn't going to travel a mile up a hill. Down a hill, would we have had a bit more of a chance? Possibly. But we were going up a hill, and we lost power, and within 30 seconds we were at a standstill from 70 miles an hour. So the premise is there. I think they could make it way better. It's we've already had our rant about it, and it has, hand on heart, put us both off smart motorways quite a bit for now. But luckily we don't really have to travel on them very often. So
yeah, there's lots of pros and cons, but ultimately I think the cons outweigh the pros. So having, you know, that part of the M4 was a normal 3 lane with a hard shoulder before, and they've decided to change it, and it's obviously not done us for the better. We could talk about it for hours and hours about the pros and cons, but ultimately that was our personal experience. But yeah, we're just happy to be alive, really.
Anyway, rant over. We've had our rant over all of our social medias over this. If you followed us, you probably already know. But we just wanted to get a video out there to explain why it ended so abruptly. Over the next few days, if you do find that me and Owen are being a little bit quiet as I film this video, we've not had the best luck recently. Obviously, we had the incident with the car, and then unfortunately, our dog Leia was hit by a car, and she has sadly passed away as a result. So we're probably going to keep it a little bit quiet over the next few days on our socials. By the time this video comes out, I'm sure we'll be all back to normal anyway, but it's just to let you all know that sadly she wasn't living with us anymore. She'd gone to live with my mum and dad because she just did not settle here, and she was so much happier, and she just didn't deserve this. But we thought we'd let you all know that sadly Leia has also passed on. So yeah, we're hoping for better times ahead, because this bank holiday's been lovely, but everything's gone wrong. So we're trying to stay positive on it. Hopefully better things ahead. But as always, thank you so much for all the support. When this was all happening, we were all over our social media, and people were being so lovely in the comments. Yeah. Everyone was being so nice about both things that happened, and we do really appreciate it.
Yeah, big thanks to everyone.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll wrap it up here. So thank you very much for watching as always. Like, comment and subscribe, and we will see you all in the next one.